We are not nearly done fighting. We're not going to stop until he walks out of prison a free man to his family.
The fight isn't over for Sean Diddy Combs. A month after being convicted by a jury, his defense team is asking to vacate the verdict or put him back on trial.
Diddy could walk free any day now. The courtroom buzzing. A shocking motion for early release just dropped, and insiders are calling it explosive. This isn't routine. This is bold. High stakes, strategic, dangerous. No one saw it coming. Legal teams are scrambling. Victims are watching closely, and the judge silent for now. If this motion lands, it could flake everything. Now the question, is Diddy really walking, or is this his last play before the hammer drops?
Diddy is now not only fighting to get out, he wants the whole thing overturned. And his main argument is, I didn't have sex with them, I just directed amateur porn.
He didn't just sit there, though.
He self-pleasured during these acts. You may not hire someone to perform sex acts in front of you for your own personal pleasure.
Right.
That is still an act of prostitution.
The mogul last faced a court during his 32-day federal trial in New York, which wrapped in late June. Prosecutors accusing him of illegally orchestrating drug-fueled group sex marathons he called freak-offs.
I'm the world's most interested man, and I throw the best parties.
Same time, it was a scary situation. You have, 12 people who hold the fate of your life.
Diddy maintained his innocence and, in the end, was found not guilty of the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, dodging the possibility of a life sentence.
I'm expecting something on the lower end of maybe 3 to 4 years.
But in a new 62-page motion filed Wednesday, Diddy's legal team is throwing a Hail Mary. They're arguing the convictions should not stand, one, because they go against precedent. They say, quote, Combs is the only person ever convicted under the statute where he neither had sex with the alleged prostitutes, nor profited, nor acted with the intent to commit any sexual assault or trafficking. And two, because the mounds of scandalous evidence presented in court to prove the now rejected charges poisoned the jury.
That ended in Sean Diddy Combs' conviction on 2 federal sex crimes charges. Could he be pardoned by the President of the United States? That is a question that came up a lot when we were doing the live streams of the Diddy trial every day on YouTube. I never really considered it as a real possibility, but I'll tell you what, now, based on current reporting, we may have to take this seriously. Seriously now. Why? Well, TMZ has reported that President Donald Trump's administration has been talking to Diddy's legal team about a potential pardon, a forgiveness for a federal crime. It's enshrined in the Constitution. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1, the president shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment.
The motion hits hard, and it's already shaking the courtroom. Diddy's lawyers are calling out major flaws in the case. Procedural errors, shaky testimony, even alleged rights violations. From the moment it landed on the clerk's desk, everything changed. The defense, smirking. The prosecution, tight-lipped. The judge, already reviewing. And here's the kicker. This isn't moving in weeks, not even days. Try hours. If the court finds merit in just one claim, Diddy could walk before tomorrow's headlines even print. The pressure's massive. The media's watching. Every move now, critical. Some experts say it's a gamble. Others, they say it's airtight. But one thing is clear. Diddy's team came loaded.
Diddy, let's say he gets 5 years in prison. Trump pardons him, he's free to go? President Trump was asked about this a few months ago before the verdict. This was back in May. And he said when asked about a pardon for Diddy, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up from what I read. I don't know, he didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. And Diddy had been photographed with Trump over the years. There was some sort of relationship there. President Trump even called him a good friend on a 2012 episode of his TV show The Apprentice. The problem is, some comments Diddy made about Trump in recent years as Diddy really entered the political realm. There's a video where he's speaking to radio host Charlemagne saying, if Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. In another video on Revolt, he says white men like Trump need to be banished. By the way, for his clients Kodak Black and Lil Wayne, those were maybe the most notable, I'm joined by Bradford Cohen. Bradford, thank you so much for coming here on Sidebar. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
Now, before I even get into the pardon, okay? There was a bit of breaking news before we were going to come on. This is what I want to get your opinion on first. So Combs' defense team filed a memo in support of a motion for judgment of acquittal, or in the alternative, a motion for a new trial. And basically, I know you read through it, but basically the evidence, they would say, is insufficient to sustain that conviction. Their main arguments is really echoing what we've talked about a little bit when it came to the bail analysis, but that his prosecution, his conviction on these Mann Act prostitution charges is so unique. He wasn't profiting off of this business. All consenting adults were involved. The jury didn't find that there was any sex trafficking. They argued this isn't even prostitution per se, it's voyeurism, that the intent wasn't for people to travel for sex for money, but he paid them for their time.
This motion isn't just paper, it's a weapon. Diddy's team came in sharp, not sloppy. Procedural errors, bad testimony, violated rights. They laid it all out, and the courtroom shifted instantly. Defense, smirking. Prosecution, shaken. The judge, already reviewing. And this could move fast. Not weeks, not days, hours. If even one claim sticks, Diddy could walk before the next news cycle. The filing, quiet but surgical. While headlines chased rumors, his lawyers were building a bomb. Now it's detonated. They're citing timeline holes, shaky witnesses, even surveillance footage that clashes with sworn testimony. And then the kicker, new evidence. Ignored? Suppressed? They say it flips the case on its head. One ruling now changes everything.
Legal saga of Sean Diddy Combs entering a new chapter after his guilty verdicts. In court docs obtained by E! News, the Bad Boy Records founder filed a new motion July 30th, requesting to either overturn his convictions or grant the 55-year-old a brand new trial. Less than a month after Combs was convicted for transportation to engage in prostitution, his attorneys calling the verdict unprecedented, alleging Combs never actually committed illegal acts as the law describes, saying in their motion Combs, at most, paid to engage in voyeurism as part of a swinger's lifestyle. That does not constitute prostitution under a properly limited definition of the statutory term. The media mogul's legal team demanding an acquittal, and if not, they'll request a fresh start in court without evidence tied to his not guilty verdicts surrounding charges for racketeering and sex trafficking. This comes after the trial judge denied Diddy's request to be released on bail, leaving him behind bars in his New York City detention center, where the rapper awaits his sentencing hearing scheduled for October.
They say the facts were twisted from day one, but this motion goes deeper. It doesn't just question the case, it attacks the prosecution itself. Claims of bias, misconduct, selective enforcement. It's bold, aggressive, and built to shake the system. This isn't just about Diddy going free. This is about undermining the case's entire foundation. And people are noticing. Insiders say the judge is paying attention. Behind the scenes, phones are ringing, lawyers are scrambling, and defense teams across the country are watching closely. Because if this motion sticks, it sets a legal precedent. Meanwhile, Diddy's gone quiet. No press, no quotes, nothing. And that silence, it's loud, it's calculated, and some say it's the silence of a man who knows he's about to walk.
Hand it over to you. You think this is a successful argument?
Thank you. I don't know if it's going to be successful in the judgment of acquittal. I think the argument is interesting because everyone agrees he might be the only person in custody right now that has ever been convicted of the Mann Act. The Mann Act, and it gives a nice history of the Mann Act, and a lot of people don't understand what the Mann Act is, but the Mann Act was enacted because of a racist motivation that white women were being recruited by people of color to go across state lines and make money. So actually pimping those women across state lines and making money off of their sexual exploits. Obviously, that's not the case here. It's used so infrequently, it might have been a handful of people who were actually charged with the Mann Act. No one in custody currently has ever been convicted of the Mann Act. So it's an interesting argument to say, hey, listen, this Mann Act, the original reason for it was racist. The original way that it was applied was racist. The way it's applied here is incorrect because he was not making any money from quote unquote pimping or getting these women across, or men getting them across state lines. None of that was being done. This was all being done for entertainment purposes. So it's an interesting argument. I don't think this judge buys it. It might be interesting on an appeal, but I don't think the judge is going to give him a judgment of acquittal on those 2 counts based on the argument. Now, the more interesting argument to me, and it's their last argument for new trial, is that, listen, if you were just going to charge him with these 2 counts, which I originally said when I looked at all the evidence, and don't forget, I was getting calls during this trial from individuals that were telling me, hey, I have information that exonerates what they're saying against Sean Combs, essentially saying that Cassie and others were participating more than just having sex in a room. They were participating more than that. They were paying people. They were hiring people. They were sending me pictures even when Diddy wasn't around.
Let's talk outcomes. If the motion fails, the case moves forward, but the damage is done. Every testimony, every shred of evidence now viewed through doubt. But if it's granted, Diddy walks. No ankle monitor, no parole, just free. And if that happens, the backlash will be immediate. Fans will cheer, critics will erupt, and the justice system thrown back into chaos. Social media's already on fire. Hashtags trending, lawyers live streaming their takes. Journalists calling this the legal twist of the year. Everyone's asking, how did we miss this? That's the brilliance. While the world was glued to headlines and noise, Diddy's team stayed quiet, strategic. And now, their move has flipped the script. It doesn't just challenge guilt, it paints Diddy as the one betrayed by the system itself.
Of the most serious charges, but the evidence that came out during the course of the trial, wouldn't it be difficult for the president to justify maybe pardoning Diddy? Maybe it is a commutation. Maybe it is, if he gets 5 years, he says, okay, I'm commuting it down to 2 or 2.5. I don't know how it would work, but that's the part that I think people might be struggling with, and what you heard, I think, from Megyn Kelly.
And even his own lawyers, no one was coming out here saying that Sean Combs is an angel, that Sean Combs doesn't do anything that is off the wall, crazy. These things, no one is claiming that. And in fact, even during my interviews, when I was saying things that weren't so popular, saying like, listen, he's only going to get convicted of these Mann Acts. I don't think he's going to get convicted of anything. And people were attacking me and saying like, oh, you like, abusers. That's not the point here. The point is to look at the law, apply the law fairly, apply the facts to the law. That's what's important here. And that's what I was doing when I was looking at the case. Looking at this from that standpoint, he's going to have been in for about 15 or 16 months by the time he gets sentenced. It's not like he got a freebie. If he got a misdemeanor battery, he would have served 364 days in jail. If he got a couple charges, maybe he would have served 2 years in jail. If this judge decides to give him 4 or 5 years based on this, do I think that's unfair? Yes. Do I think President Trump would look at that and say, this needs to be communed to time served or communed down to, 18 months because he is 15 months in? I think so. I think that would be the fair thing to do. Whether or not he does it, I have no idea. I mean, I don't think President Trump does things because it's popular and unpopular all the time. People seem to think that a lot of people in politics do things that the masses are like, oh, this is unpopular or this is popular. President Trump does what is the right thing to do. And if he feels this is the right thing to do, I think that he would then do it. That's my opinion. I don't think he's looking.
That's an explanation.
At,
that's an explanation. No, that's at least an explanation, because a lot of people would say, I don't know what he has to gain by doing this. But by you saying, if he just, hey, I don't care where it puts me politically, but if I think it's the right thing, if I think there's an injustice, then I'm going to do it. I mean, look, he has pardoned other celebrities, not just Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, but Todd and Julie Chrisley, right? Rapper NBA YoungBoy. Is there something about the celebrity aspect that might be influencing his decision?
Well, I don't know if it's the celebrity aspect or that those individuals, some of those individuals he knew, he knew them or he had entered with them. So he knows more about those individuals than just some president. Don't forget, This is part of pop culture. This president was famous before he was president. He wasn't a senator. He wasn't some sort of political guy. He was famous because he associated with a lot of individuals that he now sees get charged with crimes.
Critics call it spin, a smokescreen crafted by expensive lawyers. But the motion says otherwise. It's 150 plus pages of hard-hitting arguments, dense, sourced, and unrelenting. One line is already going viral. The question now isn't whether the defendant is guilty, but whether he ever had a fair shot at proving his innocence. That line hit like a sledgehammer. News anchors are quoting it. Social media's running with it because it flips the script. Suddenly, the pressure isn't on Diddy. It's on the justice system. And insiders say the prosecution is scrambling. Internal reviews, damage control, even whispers that some on the team are seeking lawyers of their own. If true, this case isn't just cracking, it's starting to collapse.
He was charged with a crime that he felt was unfair, that it was unfairly applied. Other people felt it was unfairly applied. When you look at those instances, all those things that combine, and he understands that people get charged simply because who they are. I think this gives him a unique look into the criminal justice system that generally 99% of the presidents that have come before him do not have. That is the key here. The key is he has been in the shoes of other defendants.
Do you think that this is affected by Maureen Comey, right? She was the lead prosecutor in Diddy's case. We know her father, James Comey, former FBI director, Donald Trump, no love lost there. You know, she was fired from the SDNY after the Diddy verdict, and in a statement she said, "Fear is the tool of a tyrant."
Right now, everything comes down to one judge, one decision, one signature that could set Diddy free. What happens after? Nobody knows. Will he speak out? File lawsuits? Vanish from the spotlight? This motion isn't just legal, it's strategic. A checkmate move in a high-stakes game. Some say it shows how the rich manipulate the system. Others believe it proves even the powerful can be challenged. But either way, this motion is real, active, and under review. And the clock is ticking. Reporters are outside. Court dockets are refreshing by the second. If this motion is granted, chaos will follow. Cheers, outrage, headlines on fire. Because this isn't just about Diddy. It's about power, justice, and public perception. And if he walks out of that courtroom door, it'll send shockwaves through the industry. Like it or not, we may be watching a historic moment unfold in real time.